What is going on, YouTube? Chris with Journals, Comics of Pop Culture. Doing a video today, kind of by request. I was reading through some comments asking me what I think of the current market right now concerning everything going on with the COVID-19 crisis, as well as some more details. And normally for a video like this, I might gather a lot of data and go off of that. But I'm just going to go off top today and talk about these things a little bit, kind of share my perspective. Also, before I get into that, I wanted to show you guys there's a mess behind me because I'm actually cleaning. I spent the last 2 days dusting and trying to reorganize because I'm getting ready for my 2020 room tour. I do a room tour once a year, usually in the summer. I'm going to do it a little earlier this year just because, hey, we're all at home right now. So I'm excited to do that. I can't wait. Probably maybe next week. We'll see. So going into what I want to talk about today, guys, the comic book market. I mean, there's a lot to be said right now with obviously what's going on. I think the big issue to address is the fact that most comic book stores are closed. On top of that, we have Diamond not distributing new books. So this is huge. It's huge. But the quick answer to what I think this crisis is going to do to the market long term, or, you know, looking months forward or the year forward, I don't think it's going to hurt it maybe as bad as some people think. There's actually a balance here. There's two sides of a coin to this, actually, where I think that through everything that we're going on, there's some positive things that can come out of it. It's kind of like if you put pressure to coal, you get diamonds, right? So let's kind of explore some positives and some negatives and how those are spread across different variables of the market, right? So first and foremost, yes, one of the big negatives that I think that we have to take away from this, that is almost inevitable, is that some LCSs are probably not going to come out of this. And that is extremely sad. I think that's the saddest thing about this crisis when it comes to comic books. It's not just comic books. You know, you have a lot of small business owners that, you know, whatever the business may be, that might not be able to come out of this. Not to get all into the politics of it, but this is where I wish that our government, our federal government, would have really worked on something more concrete to support small businesses to alleviate pressure through this time. And I have a whole list of things of what they could have did. I'm not going to get into all of that, but it's going to be tough for them. For me, you know, I shop at A1 Comics Fest, 3 stores. They're going to be fine. I think of Comic Command Center, who Josh, who's been in business for a few years now. He's a young kid. I worry about him being able to come out of this. I worry about Kevin at Boys of Summer, who has been there for 30 years. And, you know, I'm hoping that once we get back on track, that these stores will still be there, and I'll be right there to support them. That's for sure. So, I mean, that's the biggest heartbreaking thing that we probably can look at, is how many LCSs are not going to come back. So let's put that aside, and let's pray and hope for the best for them, right? And if you guys, just want to say before moving on, if there's any way that you could support your local LCSs that are shut down right now, do so. If you have their contact, reach out to them. You know, I know, you know, say for example, if your store is shut down but they have back issues, say, hey, if you're willing, call up the owner. If you have their number, say if you're willing to ship out some books, I got like $50 to spend plus shipping. I'll pay for shipping. If, you know, hey, they might be willing to take a transaction any way they can. And I know a lot of LCSs are doing like social media live streams for live auctions, any way to raise money. So those are big positive things that you can do to continue to help your LCSs. Moving on from that, let's talk about a buyer and seller's market and how I feel this crisis is impacting a buyer-seller's market. Well, it's not as black and white as a buyer, especially because you have a lot of buyers, a lot of collectors right now that are hurting for money. Okay, you have a lot of buyers though right now that are taking advantage of this situation. I'll get into that in a minute. You have a lot of sellers though that are hurting for money, and you have a lot of people selling that aren't necessarily sellers that are selling right now because they're in need of money. So you have actual collectors that normally would have this consistent flow of expendable income putting money into the market that are now, not only are they not putting money into the market, they are selling off their collection and becoming sellers because of that. So what this does right now is, and again, this is my opinion without running regression analysis and taking in all that data, but I'm using my business mind here to hypothesize. The market, in terms of the buyer's market, is going to dip. You see that, you probably have seen that with the standard stock market. People pull money out of things. Right now, people are pulling money out of comic books, just like they pull money out of the Dow Jones or whatever, you know, pulling out their stock savings money, maybe transferring it to into their 401k if they can, or into some kind of bonds that isn't as risky right now, right? So money market, whatever it may be, people get scared, right, when these things happen. So you got people pulling their money out of comic books. That's going to drop the fair market values of comics to an extent. And then when you have sellers that are becoming buyers now, they're trying to get money to survive. So they might at first be trying to maximize the dollar that they get, but the market is going to adjust that and it's going to bring them down. So more than likely, you're probably getting sellers that are asking less than what we thought fair market value was a month or two ago. Now, do I think that it's an extreme? Absolutely not. I don't think it's an extreme, because like I said, there is a duality here, because not all of the country is being impacted as bad as others. You have people that are merely taking a break from going into their offices and working from home, and they're still making good money. And at the same time, we do have money flowing in with the, you know, the federal stimulus, to where I know I'm in comic book groups. People are willing to take some of that stimulus money and spend on comic books. It's like tax return money, right? At the end of the year, you get your tax return, you go to the mall, you want to buy some fresh kicks, you want to buy your kids some fresh kicks, you take a little vacation, you know, you buy a new TV, whatever it is, and you stimulate the economy. So we could see a bump right now, or within the last couple of weeks, moving forward in the next couple of weeks, we can actually see a bump from people getting stimulus checks in and spending that money on comic books. So when you take in all these variables and they're all happening at once, you got buyers pulling their money out, becoming sellers. You got sellers wanting to sell, buyers not wanting to buy. But then at the same time, you have a certain population of buyers taking a stimulus check and putting more money out there into the market. All these are happening at one time, so there's a lot of fluctuation. So it's hard to actually pinpoint what is going on. It's not black and white. So while you have a certain sector of people that are not spending any money and selling, you have another people that are spending more than maybe they would have a few months ago because of a stimulus check. All these variables make it very, very hard to actually understand what the market is doing right now. So, if my advice to all of you, whether you're a buyer, whether you're a seller, whether you're a flipper, no matter what you are, and you're curious about this, and you want to know what the right time to buy is, what the right price to pay is, you just have to continue to watch the market and use your best judgment, okay? Because I guarantee you, if you go on eBay sales right now, it'll probably be more sporadic than normal. So take a book like, let's see, let's take a book like Uncanny X-Men 266, right? Let's take a slab copy, CGC 9.4, okay? 9.2, 9.4. The market for that book has been steadily going up the last couple of years, okay? Over the last few months, if you would have looked at the sold or what the market's doing for a 9.2, 9.4 CGC, that book, you could probably find it anywhere from 130 to maybe 175, 125, 175, okay? Right now, if you look at sold, you might see that book, a sold book, sold for 175, and you also might see one for 100. You might see one lowball. And it might be all over the place because that's what the market's doing right now. You know, it's really sporadic, and there's not one trend to focus on, if that makes sense. So again, just be smart, be patient. I never encourage people to hop onto something unless it's absolutely concrete. It's not a concrete buyer's market right now where the prices are dropping. You know, your Apple stock that was at $150 a share didn't, you know, drop 50% to 75 to where, oh, you know, you want to rush out and buy that stock. That's not what's happening right now with the comic book market. Okay? But if you start seeing downward trends, be patient with it, watch it, and it may be a good time to purchase. Another thing as buyers that I might recommend right now is not just the standard for sale prices that people are putting online and on eBay, and not just the auction sales, but the best offers. I think if you want to test the market right now, look at your best offers, okay? Because I'm always watching books. I'm personally, I'm not really buying anything right now at all. You know, I'm one of those that's in a situation where I was laid off because the school that I worked at closed down, and right now, I'm not getting paid, and I'm fighting for unemployment. So me being a buyer is being put on hold, right? But I watch everything on eBay because I like to follow trends. So I'll watch certain things. I'm watching a Black Panther #2. I got a bunch of them in there, right? One was selling one at a very fine for $18 plus shipping. I got an offer because I'm watching it. You can send offers to everyone watching an item. I got an offer for 13 bucks. That's more than 20% off of the asking price, okay? Now, if I was to go back in and make another offer, I get, because it's still sitting there. That offer came through 2 days ago. Nobody, if there's more than me just watching it, other people receive that offer as well. I could probably go in there and lowball that offer and counter offer with something even lower than $13. I might shoot an offer in for 11. You know, then you're looking at $7 off of 18. So this is where I would play around if you are in the market to buy, okay? So now let's talk about to kind of wrap this up. I'll talk a little more about CGC right now and slab books and what that's doing in the market. Now, many of you may have watched my video that I did a month or so ago. I did a couple actually, and then we all saw the Superman #1 being what I feel was a bit of a manhandle by a CGC professional. So my thing with CGC still stands. If the inconsistency and the doubt of consumers and collectors on what's going on behind the scenes is not true, there's no validity to it, I still think CGC needs to change their business practice. They need to be 100% more transparent with the public, because they're not. Now, I wish I had it out here. I did get a used copy of the Overstreet Guide to Grading. I saw Alice the Comic Hoarder using it on one of his videos, and I got one off of eBay for like $7. And I just started looking through it, and I wanna read that because we do know that CGC doesn't even hold their standards to Overstreet. So, and that's fine if they're doing their own thing, but we need to understand what it is and able to hold them accountable. Because I'm sorry, the idea about certification being merely an opinion devalues the service altogether. Because that means that one day I can send in a book and it can get a 9.0, and the next day I can send it in and it can get a 6.5. I understand that there's always going to be a wiggle room of subjectivity. I get that, because we are not a binary system of ones and zeros where everything is ran through and it's either this or that, right? We are humans, just like an umpire behind the plate at a baseball game, right? But we know, and if you guys watch baseball, most of the channels now put that little box the strike zone box, so you can see, and that allows you to see how consistent the umpires are with their balls and strikes calls. And you know, with instant replay, with all these things that they're utilizing, they're holding the consistency. They're holding the umpires accountable to their own consistency, and they need to be consistent not with their own perspectives, but with the rules of the game. We should be holding grading companies that declare themselves as professionals that declare themselves as certifiers to these same standards. They need to be held accountable. Transparency is needed. Otherwise, it means nothing. Now, I could sit here and say it means nothing, but if consumers are going to keep buying and keep putting money into it and keep thinking that that little number on the top of that grade, that little number sticker, is all they need for validation, then nothing's going to change the market. Because believe me, I honestly believe that people could send books out to CGC, and a book that could get a 9.0 one day that comes back as a 7.5. Most people that are in the slab market aren't going to question the validity of that grade. It is that sticker that basically creates their reality on what they have, what they should spend, how much money they should spend on it, why they should buy it, and so forth. The market is being dictated by an opinion that we can't hold accountable. And that's dangerous. So, the point that I'm saying is, regardless if the inconsistencies are an illusion and we're making them up, or we're tripping, right? We're tripping. If that's the case, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we have validity or if CGC has validity saying, you guys, no, we know what we're doing. It doesn't matter if more and more people continue to question. Because if the business practice is not trusted to the consumer, only then it's going to have a negative effect on the market, because people are going to pull out, and people are going to question and second guess buying that CGC slab book, because they don't know the value that they're getting. If I was in a market for a Fantastic Four 49 and it was a slab book at a 5.0 for $500, right? From my experience, that book can actually be anywhere from a 4.0 to a 6.0. Maybe even more. Maybe even a wider scale. But that means if I take that book and crack it open, send it back into CGC, and it has just as much, there's just as much potential for that book to come back a 4.0, I'm losing at least $100 on that book. I'm losing at least $100 on that book. So, as a buyer, I'm questioning, maybe I should just buy a raw book that with my ability to study a book and try to guesstimate a decent grade, because I've studied Overstreet, I've studied CGC, I have a good understanding that this book could be possibly in this range or that range. I'm going to go with this book, because you know what? If I'm wanting to flip that book, that raw book at some point, if I have a 5.0, or if I have if CGC, I might want to keep that raw book as a raw book to flip instead of sending it to CGC. Because if I could say here, I could get $500 for this raw 5.0 by me stating it's a 5.0 and putting it on Marketplace, putting it on eBay. I'm almost guaranteed to get $500 for it as a 5.0 raw. By me stating my subjectivity in grading, stating it as a 5.0. If I send this book out to CGC, though, and I'm off just by a half point or a full number point grade, I can't sell that book for $500 anymore. If that book comes back slab as a 4.0, I might only be able to sell that book for less than a raw 5.0. Does that make sense? And I think that is where we are headed with more and more people. In general, is it enough people to actually change the market at this point? No, I don't. But I'll leave it at that, guys. I mean, I can rant and I can go on. I hope what I said made sense. I'm going to refer to Alex the Comic Hoarder again too, because he's been doing a lot of more mid-grade books. And he's been guessing the grades, sending them out, coming back, and they've been fairly decent, fairly accurate to his guessing. But you know, for my personal experience and a lot of other people's personal experiences, even slight inconsistency isn't really good. But the bottom line, like I said, if they want to build build that trust in customer base, you know, customer perception means everything. And they need to be more transparent. I do believe at the end of the day, CGC, CBCS, PGX, all of these companies, they need to have their standards of what their platform, 10 point, 20 point, 30 point, the whole process needs to be on their website, and it needs to be public information. That's what I believe 100%. So I'm not too worried about the slab market right now. Like I said, I'm never one to hate on anybody for collecting what they want to collect. If they want to spend money on getting stuff slabbed, that's fine. I've done it myself. If they want to spend money on variants, that's fine. If you're a collector of runs, that's fine. I worry about the validity in the slabs and in these professional grading companies and where that might lead in the future. But right now, hey, it is what it is. That's what I got to say about it. COVID-19 crisis. I hope everyone is just getting through one day at a time. Hopefully, if you don't have the money to buy books at this time, it's a great time to read. It's a great time to read. It's a great time to reorganize. That's what I'm doing. I'm reading and reorganizing a lot right now. It's a great time if you have kids to just spend time in the hobby with your kids. Share your books with them. Get a Marvel Unlimited account and read unlimited amount of books, even if you're not really into the digital books. There's a lot of positive things that we can focus on right now. If you have a little extra money to spend right now, keep spending that money. Help a seller out on Facebook Marketplace that needs the money right now. Help your local LCSs out right now that are still doing ship to home or online auctions. Spend that money if you can, so we can continue to help each other out to keep the market strong right now. And I think ultimately we're going to come out of this in a good way. I think the refreshing positive factor about all this is anytime the market sees a change or sees a dip, when the economy starts picking back up and we start getting money back in our pockets, I do feel like the market is going to thrive off of a lower threshold, whether that be the price is dropping a little bit or your local LCS is opening up and having sales because they need to recoup funds lost. So take advantage of that. It's a good way, again, to once we open up, you're going to be supporting sellers and you're going to be able to get more bang for your buck for the most part, even if it's just a little bit. So stay positive, guys. This hobby has been around for a long time and it is not going anywhere. Pray and positive thoughts to local LCSs, praying positive thoughts for those that are at home struggling financially. Let's continue to share on YouTube and, you know, continue to be positive and here for each other during these times. Drop some comments, guys. Let me guys know what you think. If you have not subscribed yet, please do so. And lastly, a reminder, if you made it this far through this video, I have a live stream with the awesome YouTuber B-Level from B-Level Star Wars tomorrow night at 6 p.m. It's going to be a really deep, in-depth conversation about not the market, but the culture as a whole. So 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time tomorrow, guys. We will be live. Check that out. It's going to be awesome. So again, thank you for watching. Till next time.